Welcome to the Henrietta Town Board Special Permits meeting for Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. We are currently operating under the modified open public meeting laws, open meeting laws due to the coronavirus pandemic and the state of emergency declared by the governor. You have the ability to provide feedback both through Facebook and through a phone number. And of course, I didn't write the number down. Do you know?
It's 585-444-2218.
So if you do call in, be aware that it's one number, so one person answering because we have limited staff. So you may have to call back. First up, we have application number. Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't we call the roll first? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley?
Here.
Councilmember Stafford?
Here.
Councilmember Safranek? Here. Councilmember Bolzner? Here. Supervisor Schultz?
Here. First up, we have application number 2020-006, Chem Enterprises, LLC, 1387 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, to operate a property maintenance retail center selling including but not limited to mulch, stone, sheds, gazebos, and garden bridges in a industrial limited commercial zone district, tax account number 148.19-2-12, or as more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office. If you could step up to the microphone and introduce yourself, your name and who you represent.
My name is John Saunders. I represent Chem Enterprise.
Could you talk to us about what you're looking to do?
So we're a design build landscape snow plowing company. We're looking to lease the building and set up bins in the south side of the building for mulch and stone and soil for retail sales and also our use.
Are you using the entire building or just a portion of it?
Just a portion of it.
And when I look at the map, there's a bunch of there's a road through to the back into what looks to be like a car storage area. Is that include where, or is it short of that?
It's just short. So the bins would be set up in front of. There's a fence in the back of the property, so the bins would be set up in front of the fence.
Gotcha.
And then in the front, we'd like to put a couple sheds out there, one with wood, one with vinyl, and a gazebo, and a footbridge as a display.
Gotcha.
And those are all manufactured off-site. Those would be just displays.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, John, you mentioned you want to have those up front. Is that in front of the building, that parking area right in the front?
So it'd be on the grass.
On the grass in the front, though?
Correct. Yep. Okay. So it'd be just in front of the parking area. So we're out of the right of way.
And what would be your hours of operation?
So it'd be Monday through Friday. We'd be open from 8 to 5.
8 to 5 p.m.?
Yep. And then on Saturdays, for a limited time, usually April to September, we'd be open on Saturdays from like 9 to 2.
Are you going to use this in the winter also?
Yes. It'd be our main office as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So in the winter, you'd be running your plowing.
Correct.
Service out
Yep.
there.
Snow plowing. Yep.
Other questions?
You selling mulch, and sometimes that mulch, certain mulches smell worse than others. Any chance that people would complain of the smell?
I wouldn't think so. No. I mean, it's mulch. I mean, we'll be selling black and brown mulch.
It's not manure.
So not
Yeah, it's
manure.
not mixed
No.
with the
Mulch that
manure.
has
No,
manure
or
in it.
Right.
some people sell compost soil, so that's mixed, so it has a
Okay.
foul smell.
Okay, that was one of my concerns, if it was the type that was mixed with
Yeah.
the mulch.
Nope.
Okay.
Any other questions? Greg, did we get a call in? Okay, we did not. Did we get any online?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Want me to make a motion, or?
Yeah, that would be great.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion that we approve application 2020-006, Cam Enterprises LLC, 1387 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, to operate a property maintenance retail center selling, including but not limited to mulch, stone, sheds, gazebos, and Garden Bridges in Industrial Limited Commercial Zone District, tax account number 148.19-2-12, or as more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office.
Second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley?
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford?
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner?
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz?
Aye. Congratulations. May not
you.
be the best time to start up a
Right?
brick and mortar store, but at least you have some time to get it set up
Right.
before the crowds come in, right?
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
I will text Betsy. Actually, I'm going to go to the door. Or Chris will get it? Okay, thanks. So we have a slight pause because following our COVID practices, we're only allowing one applicant in the meeting room at a time. And as you can see, we're spread out across the table as much as possible, and their staff is not in the room. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Terry Daniele for providing our interpreting services tonight. And I realize it's Terry Danielle, but something about that name. I've been in Rochester too long. So thanks again, because, it was interesting last week when we were online, we had one of the highest attendance counts we've ever had. And that included a number of people who are deaf or hard of hearing. So it's great that we'll be able to provide interpreting services at our board meetings.
Yes, thanks for being here, Terry.
So next up, we have application number 2020-007, Joe Legno's Riverside Service, 3333 East River Road, to modify an existing gas and auto repair service station by removing the auto repair portion and replacing it with a gas station convenience store in a residential R115 zone district. Tax account number 160.15-2-25, or is more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office. So one of the things I'll make note of is that this is being done under section of the code 295-48.
You would ask me that. I believe it is.
And which basically has, this is a pre-existing.
47B, sorry.
Thank you. 47B. This is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It was around long before that zone district was created. And so under normal businesses, when you have a pre-existing non-conforming use, you can't expand or modify its use. But when the town board, I believe it was when they pulled gas stations out of commercial zones and therefore created a lot of the, as people usually refer to them, grandfathered properties. They realized that it creates a hardship, especially for gas stations and service stations, because of the nature of them. They have to do a lot of mitigation after the fact, which is extremely costly. So it becomes cost prohibitive to switch it to another use. So they put a special section in the code that does allow us to modify the current use as long as the primary use is either gas station or service, and we can then modify the site layout or the secondary uses. One of the things in that is, as the goals for that, as we look at it from a special permit standpoint, is we want it to be the same or lesser impact on the neighborhood. So the applicant will need to address that. And I guess with that, I will ask you to introduce yourself and who you represent.
Thank you very much. My name is Betsy Brugg. I'm an attorney with the firm of Woods Oviatt Gilman. I am pleased to be here on this special permit application for Joe Legno's Riverside Service. So the site has been a gas station apparently since the 30s. Joe Legno has been operating there for the past 36 years. This is a very old gas station location. It's really been part of the neighborhood for many, many years. It operates pursuant to a special use permit that was granted for the gas station and the auto repair use back in 1983. He's operated there. He has auto service, I believe he has auto sales as well as part of that. Has a significant amount of vehicle storage in relation to those uses. There's 3 bays in the building that accommodate the auto repairs. And then he has the gas station. I believe there's 3 pumps there currently. As you are probably aware, kind of the nature of the gas station business has changed over the years. Service stations, truly repair shop type stations, have really become an independent type of a business use. You don't really find them in modern gas stations anymore. They've really spun off into things like Pep Boys and other types of operations that really concentrate on auto repair. It is the more intense part of the operation. He's always maintained retail sales of vehicle-related items such as tires, fluids, those types of things, as well as some snacks, pop. He has not had a full-size retail store there. However, I think everybody knows, and just from the experience dealing with the very many gas stations that exist in the town of Henrietta, that today's gas stations all include, as sort of an integral part of the operation, they all include a convenience store type of a setup. Mm-hmm. The idea being that with gas margins what they are, this is a way for the business to enhance their sales from the customer who's already coming for gas. So now when you stop for gas, you might go in and grab you might grab a snack, you might grab a cup of coffee on the way to work, you might grab a loaf of bread, some basic things, some snacks, that type of thing. So it's just a way to generate more revenues from the same customer. I think you had mentioned briefly, it is a lower intensity use than what currently exists on the property. So the proposal here is to take the existing 2,000 square foot building and just kind of repurpose the interior. So they're going to demolish and remove the bays. Okay. That involves removing the oil separator and kind of all aspects of the repair operation. They're going to maintain the same footprint of the building, basically just fix up the front facade of the building, close off the bays, install sort of traditional retail glass. You can see right here kind of the basic ideas right here.
Could you lift it up?
Sure.
All right, I can't.
Yeah, so. And he may make some other cosmetic changes in addition, but basically just cleaning up the front of the building.
Can you show it to our camera?
Where is the camera?
So you step forward and point it that way.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tell me which way I'm going.
It's that little box.
That works. Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
So really just cleaning up the building. The proposal also involves making significant improvements to the site. Again, this is an old gas station. I think the last improvements were to add a canopy, maybe 10 or so years ago. So in addition to closing up the bays, removing that aspect of the operation, adding glass and cleaning up the storefront facade, the pumps will be replaced with new pumps. It's not additional pumps, just cleaning up and putting in newer, better pumps. The underground tanks are currently a problem. There is a little bit of contamination, and they are just old pumps, and they're not insurable. So the new operator is going to remove the old underground tanks, replace them with new modern tanks, and clean up the contamination as part of this. So, they'll be working with the DEC to clean up the property. In addition, the new operator is going to, you can see this is a site plan here. So there currently isn't proper striping on the lot, so it'll be properly striped. They're going to clean up the curb cuts to really better define the accesses in and out of the site, which is a significant, improvement in terms of safety in vehicular circulation. And they're going to add some green space. There's no green space really there now, but they're going to enhance some of the landscaping and kind of clean that up and just really make the site a lot more attractive than it currently is and just make it look better. He's proposing to replace the sign with a modern digital type sign. And I think that is sort of the game plan in a nutshell. I think this demolition drawing shows just some removal of some extra curbing, adding some curbing where necessary to define the curb cuts, adding handicap accessibility that currently doesn't exist, adding sidewalk along the front of the building, again, making it more pedestrian friendly and user friendly.
And I assume he's going to remove all of the cars currently stored on the lot.
And there will be no need for car storage, correct.
Okay. That property will be cleaned up.
Along the lines of the change to the existing operation, as I mentioned before, retail sales really serves the same customer as the gas customer. And I think you know this from all the traffic data. You have your own town engineer who's reviewed many applications for gas stations. These types of uses are not traffic generators. They basically feed off the existing traffic that is in the neighborhood already, or nearby residents. That's who really comes to these locations. That's a significant change. Currently, there's a service station, which could indeed be a destination for people from anywhere. It does involve vehicle storage. So that aspect of that is a significant reduction to the intensity of the operation of the site. Let's see. I think I gave you a rundown on the site improvements. Again, he's keeping the same footprint of the building. There's no plans to expand the size of the building. He's really just going to reconfigure the interior, kind of demolish what's there inside and kind of give it a brand new life and really kind of restore the viability of a gas station at this location. So I would point out that this project, I have not been involved from the beginning, and I think there was an error that was made early in the process, that the applicant applied for the wrong relief, was not really familiar with the town code. I took a look at it. There is a town code section that specifically addresses non-conforming vehicular-related uses such as gas stations, auto repair, auto sales, those types of things. So we're really working under that section, which specifically gives the authority for approval of changes to a non-conforming gas station operation to the town board in the form of a special use permit. So this is not a variance, and just for benefit of the public or for anybody who isn't familiar, a variance is an authorization to do something that is not allowed by the code. A special use permit is not a variance. A special use permit carries a legal presumption of being permitted. So this is something that kind of leans on the side of being permitted as opposed to being not permitted. So we have to address some criteria for the special use permit, which are laid out in the town code. I have addressed each and every one of them in detail in writing, and I would ask that, I assume you've read the application, but I would ask that if you've read those, that you kind of recognize that we have addressed each and every one of those criteria. They pertain to things about character of the neighborhood. This is a gas station operation that has been here for so many years. It really is part of the character of the neighborhood. If anything, what we're doing is improving this facility and making it more compatible, more consistent, more appropriate, and helping to support the character of the neighborhood. Remember, retail type uses, gas station type uses actually serve the immediate neighborhood. That is who they serve. It is not a traffic generator. If anything, we're reducing the traffic. We're going to improve the traffic safety by improving the curb cuts. We're reducing the intensity of the activity on the site. We're eliminating some potential vehicular conflict points on the site. We no longer have cars trying to get into the vehicle bays and coming out of the bays. And frankly, we're eliminating a lot of the noise and activity that comes with the operation of service bays. The use that we're proposing, I think, is very much in harmony with the character of the neighborhood.
So I'll
Sure.
save you some time rather than going
Sure.
down all the points. So I went through them in detail. On two of them, I actually added stuff that further addresses, so like from comments that I've received, for instance, in fact, I'm going to read Rick Page's comments into the record. Basically, he was talking about specifically this Legnos. He says, I think this would be a huge improvement to this old and dilapidated site. It has been a gas station for many, many years, and selling gas was never the cause of residents' complaint. It was always the cars parked in the parking lot. Since we have the ability through the planning board to make sure the applicant creates a new and modern and clean business, I strongly ask you to consider approving this application, assuming there is, he basically wasn't sure of the code. Basically, as long as this is legal under the code for this site. So Rick actually lives in the neighborhood. He's bringing forth similar comments from a lot of his neighbors. I've received a number of complaints about the station, and it's always the same thing. It's about the cars. Someone claimed, whether it's true or not, that they certainly believe it, that they lost a sale on their home because the reason the people gave was because of the dilapidated site of that garage. So The ability to clean that up, I think, is a huge benefit. The one point in there that I think in the points on the special permit things addressed on I, which talks about traffic flow, it will definitely, again, to your point, it will, with the improvements you're doing to the entrances, with the elimination of the bays, I think it does help the vehicular flow. The one thing that I think could use some help will be pedestrian flow, because I see the potential for a number of people, especially with the nearby River Meadow neighborhood, walking there. And on that side of the street, there are no sidewalks, nor are any planned. There are wide shoulders, so I do think, whereas it's not a significant risk, it's a minor risk, and I would just ask that if you could bring the message back to the applicant that I would love to work with them about the possibility of a sidewalk from the north side of the property to the intersection. We would help obtaining any easements or permitting necessary, but I think it would be beneficial to have a short stretch of sidewalk, and would love to talk with the developer about the possibility of getting that in place, because again, I think it would allow the pedestrians from actually both the riverside, as well as there's just on Farnham Drive, which is that same intersection, there are a lot of RIT student housing there, and I could see them, there's a sidewalk that brings them right to East Henrietta Road where our new sidewalk will be, but there will be a crosswalk there over to across to the River Meadow side. And so I could see them wanting to cross and then come down. I wouldn't want to see them walk down the new sidewalk and then cross in the middle of the intersection, because East River Road does not have the best sight lines. So like I said, I think to me, it's not a showstopper, because there is currently a very wide shoulder there. But as we know, there was a deaf student a year or two ago who was walking, and he was clipped by a delivery truck. So the problem with the shoulders, and the reason he wasn't walking far to the right, was because they were mushy and wet, and so he was staying closer to the road, unfortunately. So I think a raised sidewalk would help in that scenario. And like I said, I would love to talk to the
Well, I will definitely pass that along. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, there's
I
one
can
question
keep
coming
going.
from.
And you're always welcome to read them if you want. A resident is asking about
It's on the previous application.
odor from the
though,
black
so,
mulch
yeah.
on the previous application. So I will say that where these are going to be located, they're at the back of the property near this is just addressing a question from the previous permit. We'll put you on pause for a second. It's in the back of the lot by where the car storage is. There are a couple houses a bit further on. There's a large lot of car storage, followed by, is it Lightfoot? Or is that the one that goes in? Wellsville is the one that comes off side. So there's a couple houses on Wellsville and Lightfoot, but it is a decent distance away. What I will ask the residents to do is, if this goes in and there are issues with the odor, we will work with the business owner about, can they place them in a different location on the lot so that the odors don't blow in their direction. So
Well, not to go back to an old one, but he did say there wouldn't be any odor from that.
there's not much odor.
Right.
It's not manure, but
So there shouldn't.
mulch does have some odor to it, just not certain. The mulch that's mixed with manure or peat has a lot more odor. So, okay, I'm going to return now to the application on hand. Questions?
I'll let Mike go first.
Oh, okay. I got several, but just on the projects that are going along East River Road, some of those developers have to pay into a fund for road and sidewalk repair development. Would this project be one of them?
The fund they have to pay into is based off of the additional vehicles that they are putting out at drive time. So based on, again, the traffic study, the people who go in there are already on the road. So at most, you could argue that you might see one or two cars.
No,
but
okay, no, I'm
Yep.
sorry, yep. Explain
No
that.
problem.
Okay. What are the current hours of the current gas station?
I do not actually know the current hours. I can tell you that they're proposing, we'd like to keep it open at 24 hours, but it'll probably most likely be like a 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. We'd kind of like to keep the flexibility, just kind of respond and see how how things work when they're open.
Okay. But we don't know the current hours there, okay.
I don't know the current hours.
You know what?
One of the things I will note, normally we would have other people here with the application, but again, because of the COVID response, we asked all of the applicants to only have a single person present. So if she doesn't have all the information, I apologize. That's part of our Corona response.
You probably wouldn't know when the last time they sold gas there was.
I do think it was, I don't know exactly, but I do think it was just a few months ago.
Basically, whenever their insurance policy came up.
The comment is that it's currently 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. via the Friends on
Fabulous.
Thank you.
And that it's auto repair only currently,
Right.
is what they're saying.
Any other questions, Michael?
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that the supervisor mentioned that I think is very important, if the developer is willing to do something with a sidewalk, 'cause that area is kind of dangerous for people to walk along, especially when it's dark. That would be very helpful to trying to make that a more safe area to walk. Will there be any tree removal when they demolish everything? Any tree removal, do you know of? Betsy?
You know what? I didn't ask them that, but I would not anticipate any tree removal because they're not really doing any type of work that would, if anything, they're installing trees. They're going to be installing some landscaping.
Good. Well, this site definitely needs an improvement. It's been an eyesore for a long time for our town. And cleaning that up, if I'm a resident in that area, I'd be very happy about it because it would really brighten it up and make it look a lot better and probably help with some of the things, some of the values around there with that looking as bad as it's been looking. If it's approved, when do you think they would start demolishing this? And I'm assuming that there's a contract to sell this property?
And should this board grant an approval, they will move very quickly. The plan is to get moving as soon as possible. They will be working to, there is some environmental cleanup. They're going to get right to work. So.
And just to be
So I
clear
would
on the
say in the next couple
demolition,
months.
it's more of a gut.
Okay.
No exterior walls are coming down.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's
It's more
right.
of a
Yeah.
gut, not
It's
tearing down the whole
it's more of
building.
an interior renovation. Most of the work is interior.
They
They
have
will
to
be
rip-
restriping and adding some landscaping, but they're not, demolishing the building itself.
They're basically tearing out everything inside the building, inside the garage, the 3 garage bays.
Good.
But the gas
So-
pumps, I mean, those.
The gas pumps will be replaced with just more modern gas pumps.
But the
and-
underground.
And the underground tanks will be replaced with tanks that comply with, current day standards. Both the pumps and the tanks need to comply. Correct.
The current ones are only single
Yeah.
because they're old.
Right.
I have just 2 more questions. Betsy, does he operate anywhere else right now?
Yes, so White Arrow is really going to be the owner. They are a wholesaler. They currently have 8 operations. This site is going to be operated by Mo Yassin. He owns and operates 2 of their locations currently in the city of Rochester. One is on Lyle Avenue and the other is on Emerson Street. I will tell you, I spoke with the owner of White Arrow, who told me that Mo is their best operator, a pleasure to work with, and that he is the kind of person who, his word means a lot.
Okay.
So they look forward to working with the town collaboratively to move this project forward.
We're looking forward to that. So we do have an understanding that they're not going to sell any cars there.
No car
not gonna
sales,
repair
no
any
auto
cars
repair.
there.
No.
And to be clear, once this special use permit replaces the existing one.
Yeah.
So once it's gone, they can't get it back. Because as you know, that the way we've structured with our town code, that the auto sales would have to be on, he would have to move to West Henrietta Road in order to get it back.
And I would say also, so he's not adding a grease trap, so there's not going to be frying or heavy cooking. So
Okay.
it's a small building, relative to other types of convenience stores. So he will have, convenience store items. He'll have some coffee and some, kind of fast food items, but it's not going to be a full service.
And how many people
They're not
do you
going to be
think-
like frying and cooking.
How many people do you think will work there at this facility?
A maximum, probably 7 to 8. Typically 2 to 4 at a shift, depending.
Okay, that's my last question. Thank you.
So I have a question. You're going to be going from being open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you're going to have to change the lighting structure, I would imagine, since you're going to be open 24 hours now. So how is that going to affect neighboring properties?
So there's quite a bit of screening for the site. It's actually very well treed. There's not really any close neighbors.
Okay.
If I will ask the engineer to take a look at the lighting. We're here for the use, so assuming that the use is addressed, we will have to go back and kind of refine the landscaping, refine the striping. I'm sure we'll be in touch with Chris Martin about kind of the site plan related types of changes that, we can take a look at the lighting as well if that's necessary.
Are you ready for questions from the
Sure.
Facebook?
Go ahead.
I have some clarification that there hasn't been gas from the end of October 2019. But then getting to questions, Lillian has asked, during the site cleanup, what are the safeguards to the neighborhood regarding a potential of a, quote, toxic finding more than what might be visible as far as incorrectly placed waste, like oil from cars, et cetera? And how far back on the property will there be improvements?
So all of the improvements are interior to the building, except for the tank and pump replacements. They will do this in compliance with all of the applicable regulations and oversight from the DEC, and I assume also, oversight from the town.
So basically, there are strong standards in place, especially when you're cleaning up something that is oil-based, in terms of containment to make sure it does not run off. And in the resolution we wrote up for if we approve it, one of the things we're asking the planning board to do is pay special attention to that because of the proximity to residential properties.
So to answer that resident's question, or that person's question, the footprint's going to be exactly the same. It's not going to go back any further than what it is right
Correct.
now.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The development is not getting any larger at all. And, all of the work, the excavation and the work is all going to be done in accordance with the applicable regulations and oversights.
And again, because the storage of vehicles are going to be off the property, as you saw in the site plan, they're not going to need all that parking, so some of that's going to be converted to green space, according to the plans.
Great.
I know there was a petition that went around, and I realize I understand a lot of people that had signed it were not neighborhood people.
Yeah.
How many people from the neighborhood signed it? Do you know?
The petition
I
it was
haven't
not submitted on this application. It was
On the
submitted.
zoning.
It was submitted to the zoning board. I do know that many, the majority were not immediate residents. I did review the minutes from the zoning board, so I know that the concerns raised by, really it was a nearby business that raised the issues, were business competition, which is not something that the town can regulate or protect against. Doesn't fall within the purview of the town to police business competition. And the other one was traffic, and I think that we have demonstrated, and frankly, you have a town engineer, this is sort of common knowledge that change to a convenience store use does not generate any additional traffic. If anything, it really will reduce the amount of traffic specific to this type of an operation because we are eliminating the destination use of the auto repair. Plus, we're cleaning up the curb cuts and really improving the safety of the vehicular and pedestrian access to the site.
Now,
So-
Betsy, I'm going to disagree with you. I think it'll be more traffic because it's going to be a better spot. More people are going to come there.
Oh, well, okay, so you're talking about the success of the business,
I
which the
think
business
that
doesn't,
more people will
right,
come there. I think there'll be more traffic for that
Right.
establishment now that it's going to be cleaned up and new.
It-
I think that's reasonable to assume.
right.
I think more people will stop in.
Exactly.
I don't know that more people will drive over to East River Road to get gas
Right.
there when they can get gas at pretty much every intersection on the way to East River Road. And especially once RIT is back in session, nobody likes to go on East River Road near that intersection with Jefferson Road. So,
I mean, that's the traffic data on gas stations in general. Gas station convenience stores don't produce traffic. They really just take you on and off the road.
Well, I guess
so just traffic just means in addition to what's normally driving by. So
I guess
again,
my situation, what I'm thinking would be more what Lisa was thinking too, that the residents will probably see more traffic around there at that spot. Not that there's more traffic coming down because they want to go to that station. The traffic will probably be the same, but going to that station will be
right.
a lot more.
So more patronage.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, a cleaned up, viable business is going to hopefully
Yeah.
have
More traffic.
more traffic than a, one that has the gas pumps closed. Yes,
Right.
but the town does not regulate the success rate of a business. So,
I agree that it'd be nice to have that property cleaned up because I've been going by, for 20 years.
yeah, I mean, the reality is, I think that the reason that the town code has a specific section for dealing with non-conforming gas stations is that the alternative is to allow a gas station to become obsolete, and then you're stuck with something much worse.
Okay. We have another question from,
First question is also from Lillian. Will there be a drive-through for the location?
There is no drive-through proposed.
Next question is from Christian. Will the new owner continue the full service feature or will the pumps be self-service?
I believe they will be self-service, but I have not asked that question. It's unusual to find full service,
It is.
but I will.
the reason why
I
they're
will
asking
take that back.
is because it used to be full service.
Right.
Some people like to get their gas pumped still.
Well, especially the colder it is.
Who doesn't?
Right.
The colder it is, the higher the desire for a full service.
Right.
My mom would drive a mile to find a gas station that's full
New
service.
Jersey.
The senior citizens love the idea of it.
I will pass that along.
In New Jersey, we can't pump our own gas, right?
Right.
Right.
Everything.
That's right.
I think being in residential area over there, I think a lot of the neighbors are going to be concerned with the 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Right.
And currently it's, it's 8 to 6. I'm concerned that, I would think 9 o'clock in an area like.
So you can't really have a gas station, I think, that's not open when people are on their way to work. So 6 a.m. is not
6 a.m.,
early
but
for most
I'm talking
people.
about 9, excuse me,
More conservative.
9 p.m.
9 p.m.?
Shutting it down instead of 2 a.m.
They really would like to have the flexibility to stay open until 2 a.m. I mean, I think they're going to adjust depending on what the neighborhood demand is.
Yeah, I know all businesses like flexibility to do what they want, when they want, and how they want.
Well, it's $1 million investment in a property. They'd like to be able to be viable.
it's-
They do not have a drive-through.
Right. And it's a $150,000 investment for the homeowners.
I
near
appreciate that.
area,
I totally
200,000,
appreciate that.
right.
And I think that, we're providing a lot of screening, and if during the planning board process, the planning board wants to look at the screening or the, other types of ways that we can
They're going to be
mitigate.
selling beer. They're going to do beer and things like.
I have asked that question. I believe they will. I have to say that that's actually not something that's in with the purview of the town. That's preempted by state law.
Right. Just
We
curious.
always
I'm
ask
thinking
anyway.
more ti-
Yeah.
9, 10 o'clock at night near RIT, if they have alcohol.
Right.
Well, there's another business down the block. I assume they
Yeah, probably does the same.
do the same thing. So
Betsy, we don't really know what time they're going to operation is right now. We're kind of assuming right now, or do you really know?
Somebody.
no, it
posted.
was called in. Somebody called it in.
Someone called in and said
Yes.
that the hours of operation for this new station would be what?
No, for the existing, we're
I heard for the existing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering for this.
They would
new one.
like to keep it 24-hour, but I think they're really proposing 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
So when will we know?
Well, I think that they would live with 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., but I think they'd like to see when they're open and up and running. Look, they don't have a drive-through, so I think that the kind of traffic they get is going to be very different than some of the other facilities around that do. I think people are going to come in there if they want to buy something. I can't tell you exactly what the market will be like for them once they're open.
Don,
But, it's not like the Express Mart that has the McDonald's and, lots of things going on. And they don't have 10 gas pumps. They have 3 gas pumps. So I think that it's going to be largely local people who are already on the road near there. They're not going to be a destination. If somebody wants to go on a big shop at night, they're going to go somewhere else probably.
Don, a point of law question. Do we have to word something in here, or do we have the ability, if they start 24 hours and there are a lot of noise issues, do we have the ability to shorten their hours of operation, or is on their special permit? Are we able to modify the special permit after the fact? Or should we put something conditionally in it now that says if there are a number, a significant number of noise violations, that the hours shall be limited to X?
You could, theoretically, you could condition it like that. But I find those types of conditions are somewhat difficult to put into practice. So my suggestion would be come up with an hours of operation plan that you're willing to approve today. And if the applicant finds that those hours are not sufficient, they can come back and request that the board expand them.
Is there a way that Betsy can maybe ask the applicant this before we leave?
I'm going to do that.
Oh, great.
I'm going to do that. I will point out, I did already ask them about, again, because we're in a residential neighborhood, about deliveries and that type of thing. So they can control the delivery time so that they can have them come at the middle of the day or whatever. It's primarily box trucks, smaller vehicles, smaller trucks. They get a gas delivery maybe once or twice a week. Kind of depends how busy the station is. So they do have some control in terms of bringing trucks in. We can accommodate whatever hours, or work better for the neighborhood.
I think if you found out what they want to do, that would help us too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They want to do, she said they want to do 24
Well,
hours,
they would prefer, but willing to
until
shorten.
2 a.m.
my thought is, do we limit deliveries between 9 and 9? What do you guys think?
I'm fine with that.
So I can tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The gas station, I'm getting an update. Apparently I didn't look at my phone. So the updated information I got from the property owner is when they were there will be no full service, but they did operate from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. previously. Let me just.
I used to work second shift over there. I don't remember them being open at night, but I don't recall them being open at nighttime.
Well, again, in the summertime, 9 p.m. is still light.
Still like, yeah.
Well, I guess my thought too was for those who do work second shift that it is helpful to have a facility that's open.
Right.
This might be a question for Chris. With a gas station being so close to the Genesee River, will that have anything to do with our new waterfront restoration projects and their approval? I know they ask in the seeker reports all the time.
Chris Martin, Director
It's
of
not on.
Planning.
Green?
It's close. It's not that close.
If you're having trouble with it, you can use Don's mic, or
There you go.
Chris Martin, Director of Engineering.
yours still isn't on.
I can hear it.
Thank you, Becky.
Away.
For third time, it's Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. So as far as the riverfront property is concerned, or the proposal that we have working with our consultant, sure, that may impact what this is, but obviously that hasn't been approved yet. We're still working through the process on that. So I don't think it would have anything to do with this particular application.
So, I mean, other than it's revitalizing that particular property in the waterfront area, so arguably it's working towards the plan.
A betterment, yes.
Yeah.
The other question I have is how long do these properties that that used to be gas stations, how long are they grandfathered for?
Ever, till they change their use,
Until they change the, okay.
correct?
Or until they abandon,
Or-
if they were to stop operating.
For a year, right?
Usually it's for a year, yep.
Okay. I'd like, are we sure about, because I would like to know that too, if they're,
The code is pretty clear in that, because this particular section of code, it talks about how if you demolish it, it must be rebuilt and reopened within 1 year's time.
okay. And you said right now with the DEC, and the, is it just the pumps or what, or don't
There's
you?
just a minor, my understanding is that there's some small amount of contamination around the tanks. So we really need to be open till 2 a.m.
So my thought is, do we do the hours of operation 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., deliveries 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.? That way there isn't banging when nearby residents are sleeping.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Is 9 a.m. too late?
Yeah,
The deliveries
weren't they willing?
earlier than that?
I think it's preferable to have them earlier. I'm not sure that.
Right, I'm just putting an outside window on it.
Gotcha.
And again, we'd be willing to, if we're going to be dealing with the planning board, that might be the best place to deal with the mitigation of any, because we haven't really identified any impacts. So once you start to really think about things like noise and lighting in context of site plan, I think I don't know, Don, if you have an opinion on that, seems like a better way to handle some of the, those types of issues. Just that, we're talking about noise and impact on neighbors. I mean, when we really look at the site plan, for example, the doors are in the front of the building here, right? So, I mean, you look at those things when you try to assess what kind of noise or,
So that is where they look at things like dumpster placement, the surrounding, any fencing or trees to
yeah, any
buffer
kind
the
of
sound.
mitigation that we
Right,
might,
yeah.
not really mitigation, because we don't actually have any adverse impacts, but things that would make this a little more neighborhood friendly, perhaps.
Well, it's mitigation, just not of a significant impact.
Yeah, because I don't think this
Significant
project has any,
Right.
Negative.
Other than,
environmental
again,
impacts, so.
the current condition of the property.
Right, it's a big upgrade.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who consider it to be a significant adverse effect on the neighborhood as it stands right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely going to be an improvement.
Okay, any other questions? Any call-ins? We had a call-in?
Yes, sir. Craig Eckert, Deputy Town Supervisor, received a call-in, which I believe was an extenuation or clarification from the typed-in comment, asking if there was going to be remediation on the entire site or only where the tanks were. Suggestions were that they dumped oil in the back or something along those lines. Purely suggestions or comments not identified.
I'm not aware of any other remediation that's required. However, I will say they will be under the oversight of the DEC, and if anything is required, it will be required. It's not really a voluntary.
Right, so
kind
we
of
will
thing,
just ask the DEC do a couple spot checks around the property, because again, even if there was no dumping, when you've had a service station and gas station on a property for 90 years, there is going to be some leaching into the soil of automotive fluids, so.
They're going to comply with the
Right.
authorities on that. So.
So the answer is that will be up to the DEC, and based off of our experience with the DEC, they will look at that. And if they find an area that needs to be mitigated, they will require that it is mitigated, regardless of where it is in the location. The one area that they know that they have to do is the gas tanks, but in working on it, they may find additional ones, in which case the DEC will require them to clean it up.
Got a
Yep.
question?
Got a question.
This is from Christian again. He says, not sure if this came up already or if it has been addressed. With the addition of food being sold, this will create pedestrian traffic both from the Chesapeake and River Meadow neighborhoods, as well as RIT students living in campus. Is there an intention to add a sidewalk for safety on the west side of East River Road?
So when you look at the location on the property, so the short answer is yes, we've discussed that. It's much easier to do it from the Farnham River Meadow access. It's a long haul from Chesapeake. And that crosses a lot of properties that are not obviously owned by this developer, so that becomes a bit more problematic, but we can certainly take a look at. One of the things that, depending on how things go with the sidewalk we're putting down East River Road, there's a couple areas where we might be able to get the developers to pick up the sidewalk in front of their development, in which case, if we have money left over, we can look at applying it to add a sidewalk to get to, I think it's Cape Henry Trail, I think is the northernmost street into the Chesapeake area. So if we can, we will. But that's not something that I think is a fair burden to put on a developer to put that much sidewalk in. Again, going the other direction because it's much, much shorter. I could look at doing that with them and we'll work with them on that. But going to the south, I think that would require some of the basically the multimodal or DASNY funds if there's enough left over. Yep.
Our friend Kevin Wilson, Director of Building and Fire Prevention, has said that making pickup hours for garbage or dumpsters should be limited as well.
Okay.
Originally, didn't you say that they were willing to have deliveries during the day?
Yeah, they have flexibility. What I said is they have flexibility to schedule the deliveries.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, so the point, to Kevin's point, that we should require that because the dumpster is a loud thing, so
Can he read the question?
that 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is for deliveries, garbage, dumpsters, basically anything that's going to generate a lot of noise. Yep.
We had a question for Cheryl. I'm not seeing it on my screen, but Don's still seeing it on his screen. It was about traffic and the intersection of River Meadow Drive and...
Cheryl asks, since more traffic, would it interfere with the distance to entrance and signal light at River Meadow?
So I'm not clear that there's more traffic, obviously, than now because the gas station currently isn't operating, but I don't see that it's necessarily more than when the gas station was previously operating. The traffic, the East River Road corridor project does anticipate increasing the access in turning lanes for a lot of intersections. I don't remember if that's one of them that they were looking at a extended turn lane. Do you remember, Chris?
No, not offhand.
Say that again?
Not offhand, no.
Not offhand, he does not remember, no. But we will take a look at that study from the Monroe County when they studied it as to where they felt it was necessary.
Would they? And it wouldn't be something the developer would do, I don't think, or approve. But crosswalks from the east side to the west side would.
I wouldn't want them at the gas station. The crosswalk, there is plans for a crosswalk to go in at Farnham and River Meadow. I don't know that there's one. I don't believe that there's one planned at Cape Henry because there is no corresponding curb cut across from it, and there's the trail that's going to be on East River Road, the multimodal path, is set back from the road, and there will be most likely be a drainage swale in between. And that particular area is quite wet, so I suspect it will always be filled with water or mud. So I don't think there would be a crosswalk at Cape Henry Trail, but there would be one at the major intersection. So the next nearest one would be Chesapeake Landing and Bailey Road intersection with East River Road. Okay. But Cape Henry Trail would probably not have a crosswalk. Of course, it's also, Cape Henry Trail is on the same side as the Riverside service station. So any other questions? Yep.
Supervisor, I've been listening to some of the suggested comments and conditions to the resolution, and I have the written resolution up. I've added some of those conditions, and I'd like to basically have you move them as an amendment. But before that, I want to make sure there's somewhat of a consensus on the hours for deliveries, hours of operation, and dumpster and garbage pickup.
I'm not in favor of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. in a residential neighborhood.
So I will point out, it is zoned R115, but it's actually on East River Road where there aren't a lot of residences right there. There are some behind it, although again, there is a large stand of trees because originally there was supposed to be a road that continued out right there. It never went through because of wetlands, so. Any other thoughts on the hours of operation?
I think the 9 a.m. for deliveries is too late in the morning because I think a lot of people deliveries start a little bit earlier. So I think the 9 a.m. for deliveries is not early enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it should be, at least 8 a.m. because I know when I drive by a lot of the places, Sugar Creeks and stuff, they seem to be getting their deliveries fairly early.
And most people really do get up to go to work
Right.
relatively early.
Right.
So.
Or their kids are
I
at
think
school?
Or on the
more
school
concern would be
buses,
the
so-
later, when people are home and, some people are going to bed earlier. You don't want to hear a bunch of trucks making deliveries at 10 o'clock at night. So I
Right.
agree on the later side.
So
So-
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
Well, first we're doing deliveries. Let's nail down deliveries, garbage dumpsters, et cetera. So 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 8 p.m.?
Yeah, I think the later isn't really an issue. I think most deliveries are done, people go home,
Well, if they get 12 hours, that should be enough.
So we-
8 to 8.
So
Yeah.
I'm hearing a couple people say 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for deliveries, garbage dumpster, basically any activity that would generate a significant amount of noise. Especially, like I said, deliveries and garbage pickup. And that
Becky has a
includes
question.
also carrying garbage out to the dumpster, because often what happens is people slamming the dumpster door is what generates the noise, not necessarily the pickup, so. Okay,
What hours are you going for the
so
dumpster?
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for deliveries, garbage, dumpster, anything that would generate a lot of noise.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question from Sierra. She is asking, is there going to be better street lighting on East River Road if there are going to be more people walking to get to this store?
The plan that will be funding dependent, we are going to at least, while we're putting in the sidewalk, run the conduit. Whether we'll have enough money left over to actually put in the lighting, I don't know that answer. But again, that's something we are looking at. But again, part of the side thing of the sidewalk too, though, is it gets them off of the shoulder and onto the multimodal path. Yep.
And Sandy wanted to chime in that the residences are the taxpayers, and she thinks it should be 8 a.m., which is what you guys just said.
Good. We're in agreement with that.
8
Sandy.
a.m. 8 a.m. for opening or 8 a.m. for
It
deliveries?
just says 8. It should be 8
for
a.m.
delivery.
I will also point out that the property pays taxes too.
Sure.
So just Sandy.
I think this is a neighborhood-friendly use, and
I understand.
if we were able to have the whole crew here, I think you would meet an operator who's very interested in having a good relationship with the neighborhood.
Right.
He's a
Because
very
he's not gonna
nice
get
guy.
business.
What is it?
He's not going to get business if he doesn't have.
Yeah,
a good
no, I think he's very
relationship.
interested
You're right.
in being a
Right.
good neighbor, and we will certainly work with the town
Okay.
to refine any of the details.
So now the gas station operation. Again, there's going to be a want to be open at the drive time. Does anybody have an issue with the 6 a.m. start?
No.
Okay. Now we get to the end. Mike was against 2 a.m. I don't know what other people feel.
I'm in favor of 2 a.m. I think that we need to have services for people that work that B shift.
I agree. There's people coming home late at night. They're tired. They need to get gas, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be 2 a.m.
I'm interested to know what time you think it should end, Michael.
I think in a residential neighborhood, businesses should probably close at 9. Period. 9.
Well, I think if you close at 9, you can't afford to have the business.
You
I think
can't.
that's
Because I
unrealistic.
think you're going to find, you're going to get a lot of use from people who need to grab a gallon of milk. They realize
Yeah,
at
but if we look-
8:30,
yeah.
8:45 at night, they don't even know
Especially
for breakfast.
students, if they're coming out of RIT, they don't get done with classes until 10 o'clock at night.
I would agree with you, Mike, if it was down one of those residential streets, but being on the main drag, I don't think that's as much of an issue. So I heard at least 3 people for 2 a.m. Rob didn't express an opinion. Mike was against 2 a.m. But if we have 3, unless you can convince someone to change their mind, it sounds like it's 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Do you want to try to convince someone to change their mind, or?
Just, I think if I lived in the neighborhood, had it in my backyard, I wouldn't want people,
Right,
a business operating until 2 a.m.
right. I will point out that the gas station predated almost all the
Yes.
homes in that Chesapeake Landing area. That's, again, I'm not trying to minimalize the thing. I just want, sometimes we forget that businesses are property owners and taxpayers and have rights as well.
Do we know what the hours are of the other place at the corner of River Meadow?
The buy right.
Convenience store?
Yes, we used to be the buy right.
Let me
whatever it is now.
see what it
What are
says.
their open hours?
Well, the other thing is, I mean, we have fast tracks everywhere. And the one on Highland is basically, it's on a busy road, but there are neighbors there, and that's 24 hours.
Well, And we
Lucci's
have no
Pizza-
immediate neighbors behind, or, there's really not many immediate neighbors there, so.
Lucci's Pizza and Grill, according to the Google Maps anyways, closes at 9 p.m.
Interesting.
But that's more of a
They're just pizza
Restaurant.
friends.
Their
pizza and grill. They have some,
They
right,
have a
they
store.
sell some
But they don't sell
convenience items.
gas.
They're kind of this,
I've not been in there in years, so.
Yeah, they,
it's changed a bit from the days of buy right, but they do still have some convenience store in there. But a lot of it is more like a pizza and delis and stuff like that.
right.
It's a nice convenience store. I've stopped there for lunch. They don't sell gas, so they probably don't have the need to be open that late.
Right.
Any other discussion? Don, do I actually need to make a motion to amend, or should I just make a motion for that particular resolution?
Since we have a written resolution, I would just
Right.
make a motion to amend. I can send it electronically for the records as well. And I can read off, I've already written it up if you want.
Good.
Okay,
I'm just going to submit this for the record. This is just an aerial Google Maps that pretty much shows how isolated this site is.
Right.
We do not have, we're not in close proximity to neighbors the way the pizza place is.
there, right, there
I mean,
are,
we're really treed and
There are-
really naturally screened here, so.
correct.
You're going to give that to us?
Yes, I am.
So there are 2 houses on River Meadow that are nearby. The house immediately south is the one where it's an individual who operates trucks. I forgot which kind of trucks, but what's that?
I believe they are fair type of food service trucks.
Gotcha.
Got to keep 6 feet, I'm sorry.
So, and again, to the back, there's really, it's all trees. The nearest strictly residential ones, if you will, are the ones to the north on River Meadow.
Yeah, there are no neighbors there. Right.
Let me ask another question. We're not gonna have another, come back and, hey, we've decided we need to expand because we're not gonna make it, or the owners decide that they need to.
I can tell you that this is his plan, this is what his business model is, this is what he wants to do. As far as I know, there's nothing.
Yeah, but we've had a couple businesses that have, once we approved it, have come back and said, well, now we can't make it with that small of a space, we gotta expand, or, we gotta turn our building or something, so I'm.
Well, certainly anything that they change about the use would require coming back to this board. Correct, Don?
Correct.
Let me give that Becky when you guys.
And I'm all in favor of getting that piece of property cleaned up,
Okay,
Let me get that for you.
Any other questions, comments? Don, can you make the motion? Can you read into the resolution the motion? How's this? I make a motion that it's included in there. I make a motion that we act on the resolution Don is about to read.
Okay, and the resolution will be as written with the additional conditions as follows. Number 5, that the application be subject to site plan review at the planning board. Number 6, that for the protection of the public, all remodeling, construction, and demolition be constructed in accordance with all laws, including but not limited to DEC regulations. Number 7, that the issuance of this special use permit shall terminate the existing special use permit on the property. Number 8, that dumpster, garbage pickup, and deliveries be made only during the hours of 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. And number 9, that hours of operation be limited to the hours of 6 a.m. until 2 a.m.
Second.
I will just read off the other 4 conditions for folks who haven't pulled it down online. That the modification shall be consistent with the application materials. The gas station will operate in compliance with approved standards of safety in the handling of gasoline and flammable liquids. During remodeling, safeguards shall be implemented to protect against the runoff of automotive fluids into the surrounding water table, all to the satisfaction of the town engineer. And that pursuant to town code at section 295-48, the applicant will record a deed restriction providing that gasoline storage tanks will be removed in accordance with DEC regulations, and with 6 months of closure, a licensed engineer shall provide a report indicating compliance with regulations as more particularly specified in section 295-48.
Second.
So this is a motion to amend, correct?
Right.
Right.
So we're making a motion to amend to add those to the 4 I just read. So any discussion on those additional 7 or I guess it wasn't 7, it was additional 4 points?
Just want to mention we're amending application 2020-007.
Correct.
Can I make a motion to table this until we have some time to talk to the neighborhood residents to find out what their concerns were that signed that petition?
Is there a second?
Does anybody want a second? Sorry. Part of I will have a concern again. I've spoken to a number of residents about this, and there was a desire to see it cleaned up, other than the neighbor at the northwest corner of the River Meadow intersection.
There's no doubt that,
Right.
and I want to make, no bones about it, that it'd be great to see this place cleaned up. I'm just concerned with the hours and why the residents signed the petition.
Well, again, I'm not, and a lot of the names on that petition, some of them had put down Marketplace or Miracle Mile as their address. It appears that the person was going around Marketplace Mall to get the signatures, not through the neighborhood.
Right.
So again, I just canvassed that area, and there was, again, a desire to see this cleaned up. So
I understand why they want it cleaned up.
okay, so as the motion to table did not move forward, we are currently acting on the motion to amend. Any further discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley?
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford?
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner?
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz?
Aye. So we are now making a motion on the amended resolution for application number 2020-007. This resolution basically we completed the seeker process that was actually started under the previous action. Completed that. We had filled out all the stuff on for the special use permit A through I. And so it basically accepts the EAF, parts 2 and 3 of the EAF for purposes seeker, issues a negative declaration relation to the application. It then basically finds that under this section of code, I'm not clear what this, what it's saying, Don. Letter submitted by, and discuss as well as those workers. Oh, that the factors detailed in that application support the approval, and that it notes a number of standards that the application will not result in an expansion of the existing footprints. It will continue to be used as a gas station. It will reduce the intensity of the parcel by removing vehicles and vehicle parts associated with automotive repair. And that the traffic will not be increased as gas stations are primarily patronized by pass-through traffic. Again, when you're talking about traffic, it's not traffic into and out of the site, it's traffic on the road, additional traffic being added to the road. So for instance, the YMCA on Jefferson Road added a whole lot of traffic. As we know, Chick-fil-A will add a whole lot of traffic. There'll be a lot of people who drive specifically to go to Chick-fil-A, not just stopping in on their way by.
Right.
And then the last further resolved are the, now it was 8 points? 9 points. That are additional conditions set forth, and that we've already read those 9 points. So that's what we're voting on. Any last questions, comments on that resolution? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley?
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford?
Nay.
Councilmember Safranek?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner?
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz?
Congratulations. Again, we'll, as there are concerns with the property, we're happy to see it cleaned up, but, we're also going to, engineering will be paying close attention to the DEC cleanup, especially because
We appreciate that.
we want to make sure that there no runoff contaminates the neighbors' yards.
I think I can speak on behalf of the operator who's really excited to be, taking on this project and becoming part of the neighborhood.
And we'd love
He's
to
a
have
good
them
guy.
come visit once town board meetings are open to the public again.
Yes, and we look forward to working with the town. I'm
Great.
sure we'll be,
Talking on the
working
phone.
with town engineer.
Very happy to hear the piece of property will be cleaned up.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That calls the end of the agenda for the special permit meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Special permit meeting.
Hearing no objections, meeting adjourned. Could you please, Becky, hit end, and we're going to start a new one for the town board meeting? Yep, we're going to take a 5-minute break.